Welcome to I'll Be There, the ultimate wedding podcast by Priya
and Nim
from Pristine Events. Whether you're a bride-to-be
or a groom gearing up
or just a wedding lover at heart, we've got you.
Welcome back to another episode of I'll Be There. I'm Nim.
I'm Priya.
And today we're going to be talking about wedding horror stories.
Yes, we have asked some of our followers what they've seen go wrong at weddings, either as the bride themselves, the groom, as a wedding guest, as a close member of the family. And we've got lots of responses in, so I thought we'd do what we do best, where I read them out and Nim gives his hot take on what he thinks.
Well, I think we'll both give our opinion on it, right? Like, we experience ourselves many wedding horror stories.
Yeah.
Not all of them we're able to actually put out. Like these fires. Like, we try our very best.
Yeah.
But sometimes even our expertise can't stop certain things happening. But we're not discussing our own wedding horror stories. We're discussing the general public's wedding horror stories. Yeah. And many of them may have been because they didn't book us.
It's actually very true. Yeah. But also I think it's important for people to hear and just be like, actually, it's very rare for a wedding for every single element to go 1,000% to plan. Yeah. And I think it's just important for people to realise that. And when they hear some of these, hopefully they'll realise that it's not that bad. Okay, so no particular order. I'm just going to read them out, right? And give me your initial response, not your, thought about edited response, okay? Ready?
What's that supposed to mean?
No, I mean, to be fair, you are normally really honest, but I mean, just, give me your initial reaction to all of these, okay? Right. This one's not that deep, but the priest forgot the order of the ceremony and made it up and changed everything.
See, I've seen that happen before. Yeah. I don't think... Unless they're a very, very inexperienced priest, I don't think it would have been to the extent that they're implying in that message. Mm-hmm. I don't think they forgot it all and made it up as they went along. I think sometimes couples these days, and this is actually a really important point, right? I think maybe 10 years ago or so, especially with Hindu weddings, which is the majority of the weddings that we do, there was a very set structure of how a ceremony happened. There are slight intercultural differences. So if you're Gujarati, if you're Punjabi, there are slight differences based on your caste or your community within that culture, but by and large the ceremony ran in a specific way and the priest was in charge of that. I think these days, more so with younger couples, they're picking and choosing aspects of the wedding that they either agree with, they resonate with, or there's just parts that they're just I don't really want that because I don't, either it's too long or they just don't want it as part of a ceremony. And I think one of those things is, for example, the antrapa, where they put up it's basically where you put up a cover and the groom is essentially not able to see the bride until he's sat next to her on the stage or on the mandap. And I think couples are basically saying, well, we've obviously seen each other, so what's the point of this? Yeah. Which I understand, which I get. Similarly, there's the kanyadan, which is where you're basically giving away the bride. And I think sometimes people don't like that because it's essentially saying that you're giving away your daughter to the other family or to the groom. Yeah. But people say, well, you're never giving away a daughter, you're just sharing your daughter. Yeah. So I think people pick and choose aspects of that. And like I said earlier, if they want to kind of reduce the ceremony, when that happens, it means that sometimes the priest, because I guess they're doing ceremonies every other day or every day, they might have kind of reverted back to their sort of typical running order and then been like, oh, actually, this couple wanted this additional step that we don't normally do these days, or they wanted me to cut out that step. And that's probably what they mean by that. Yeah. But I can imagine that's still really frustrating because ultimately it's your wedding, and regardless of whether the priest or whoever at your wedding has done a wedding the day before, a wedding the day after, has got a wedding in the afternoon, you've still not just paid money for it, but you've planned for this to be, your day, and you want everybody to give their 100% and act as though this is the only wedding they're ever doing. Yeah,
I think it's exactly that. I think it's annoying because as a couple, you have spent time filling in your pack, if you're a pristine couple, or your document, whatever you're doing. You've had multiple calls with your suppliers. So for then on the day, people to either forget it or disregard it, it's just annoying because then it's what is the point of me saying that I want things tweaked in certain ways and want it personalised to me for then you not to listen, because then it's just the whole thing's pointless. And we did a ceremony recently where the couple had changed quite a lot of the Hindu ceremony steps. Rather than just being the bride's parents, it was the bride and groom's parents, in terms of, you mentioned, on stage, in terms of not having an antrapa, in terms of removing some of the elements of the groom ceremony bit before the bride comes in. And it was all great because actually I understood their reasoning for wanting to do it all, but it just meant that making sure the priest was up to date with everything. On the day, I did a run through with the priest again just before the ceremony happened. And during the ceremony, I was also watching every step just in case.
Yeah.
If there was something that wasn't quite going to plan, I could try and like signal. So there definitely is more prep work that goes into it, but I can understand why that's really frustrating.
Yeah.
The good thing is most of the time the guests won't notice because they're not paying attention or it kind of all looks very samey unless you're really watching every step. So I feel like hopefully that didn't disrupt the wedding too much, but I can understand why you're annoyed as a bride. Okay, next one. There was a power cut just before the bride walked into the aisle. Onto the aisle.
Yes, I've seen this happen before. It actually happened quite recently. Not a power cut, but basically in the ballroom, the DJ, his entire system was plugged into a socket right near to where one of the guests was sitting, and the guest moved his chair and pulled it out. So this was during one of the speeches, and then the sound just went out. But it only lasted like 5 seconds, and it was during the reception, so everyone's in a slightly better mood. It's the best man speech, so also the best man was quite funny and managed to kind of play it off as a joke, as if like people didn't want him to speak and therefore they silenced him. Yeah. So it was quite funny. Like,
was that at this wedding with you?
Yeah, it was like last week.
Oh, okay.
You weren't in the room.
Maybe, okay, that explains why. I was like, it sounds like new information. Okay, fine.
There's that. And then there's like other places, like for example, if you're in a marquee, but there like it's very kind of generator reliant in terms of the power. And if you overload it, the power can cut off. Yeah. That happened. It also happened the other day at even at Oswell Centre.
Yeah.
I think it got overloaded and then just the sound would just cut off. But it instantly came back on again. Either way, the point that I'm making is I think sometimes in those moments it can feel like the most awkward thing ever. And I've been in that situation, like me and you as coordinators and planners and whatnot, where you're like, oh God, something's wrong with the Spotify playlist as the bride's about to come down. I think ultimately the guests don't care as much. I think, but as a bride, it can probably feel like your moment is ruined.
Yeah, I think so. I think also you're nervous enough as it is. You've just hyped yourself up to walk down. Yeah. And then there's a power cut. So either there's no light or there's no sound, and you're just kind of waiting around. Yeah. And then I just think it kind of is a bit anticlimactic for then it to come back on and then you to feel a bit stressed and then rush down the aisle. So that's a bit annoying. But on the same story, they also said the witness, who was the grandmother, fell over. But I don't know if that's a response to maybe the power cut and it being dark, or it's just another thing.
Probably because they didn't have elderly welfare.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, guys, Nim will look after any grandparent, any elderly person. Nim is your man.
He's a good guy like that.
Yeah. He actually is. He's got such a soft spot for the elderly. So
meanwhile, Priya's like, get out the way, auntie. Bride's coming inside, or whatever grandma is in your language. God.
That was like the wedding we did last Sunday, and obviously it's really hot. We'll do another episode on the heat and weddings because it's been a lot this year. But there was an elderly man who was just stood basically in the aisle when the bride was going to walk down, and it was a civil wedding outside, and everyone else was sat down, and he obviously was hiding behind the tree because he wanted shade. And I was like, I'm so sorry, sir, like I need you to please sit down. He was like, I'm just going to stand here. I was like, I'm really sorry, I just can't have you standing here because the bride is about to walk in and you're in the aisle. And he was like, yeah, but I'm just in the shade behind the tree, I'm just gonna hide. He was like 70 something, and I was like, bless you, I get that it's really hot. And I was like, let me just pull you up a chair and I'll put you on the other side of the tree so that you aren't seen, but I just can't have you in the aisle. Like, even if whether you're old or not, you can't be in the aisle for the bride's entrance.
Oh, so is that the same guy that we had to take to hospital with heat stroke?
Nobody went to hospital with heat stroke, so it's okay. He sat in the shade and it was fine, and he wasn't in the bride's shot, so everyone was happy. I don't even know how we got onto this, but yeah, the grandmother fell over. Do you know what I think is stressful about that? If that happened just after the power cut, the whole thing is giving chaotic. Even if it's not anyone's fault, it's just giving like there's no light, there's no sound, the grandma is falling over.
Grandma on the floor.
Yeah, there's a grandma on the floor. Everyone's probably got up to crowd around the grandma. It's hard enough getting everyone to sit in their seats and like be sat and settled before an entrance. So I think all of those things together is a bit chaotic. So I really hope that this person pulled it back and took a second and then had a lovely entrance and rest of the wedding after that. Okay, ready for the next one?
Yeah.
So this one said, photographers left before getting our final shots and didn't even tell us they had left.
Okay, so I'm actually going to defend the photographers on this. Again, I don't have any context to this. The way that photographers and videographers, I guess, sell their services, from my experience and my understanding, is that it's a very clear package in terms of what time they arrive and what time they finish. Mm-hmm. Okay, we do a similar thing in terms of when we're doing like on-the-day coordination and planning, but by and large, we're not going to leave until the things that we've planned to organise and coordinate have happened. Mm-hmm. Photographers are slightly different in that, yes, they're obviously trying to, like, they want to capture everything, and as long as, for example, if they're leaving at 10 and 9:30 is the last dance or first dance or whatever, they will capture that. But if things run late, they're very much more often than not being paid on an hourly basis.
Yeah.
And quite often is the case where they will go up to the bride and groom or us if we're there, and they'll say, hey, by the way, if the day's running late, probably not the case if we're there, but if the day's running late, like as we agreed, our additional charge for an hour is whatever it is.
Yeah.
I imagine in that scenario, and again, I might be wrong, the couple are like, nah, I don't think so. We'll just have it. We'll speed things up. I think that's what happened. I can't imagine a world where the photographer was just like 10 p.m. and then just walked off.
True, but exactly as you said, I think even if things are running late, the photographer has to go up to them to tell them, I'm going now. Is there anything else you want captured?
Yeah.
Obviously, they should have had a discussion in advance so that they know the additional charges. How do you feel about when photographers request that payment is made then and there for them to stay longer?
I think it's really awkward. I think that the same with any vendor. I think if you're asking a bride and groom on the day to transfer you there and then for you to then provide your service, it just becomes very transactional. And obviously it's a transaction, you're paying for a service, but on a day which is supposed to feel magical and like a fairy tale and the most special day of your life, you don't want it to seem like everyone's just there because you're giving them money. You kind of want it to seem like they're all there because they're invested in you as a couple.
Yeah.
So I think as soon as you'll start like getting your things like your normal things of like getting your phone out, paying people on like a bank transfer, it's just an odd thing to do on your wedding day.
Yeah.
But I understand from a supplier's point of view that you need to make sure that you're getting paid for it, because especially if you have got bad vibes from the couple, and they seem like, they like haggled you down with the price. Like if they're then like, yeah, don't worry, we'll pay you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like you kind of know. I think you should play it by ear and like judgment, and just hope the couple that you've probably spent some time getting to know, you can trust. And if you don't trust them, then be like, hey, transfer me.
Yeah. No, I understand why they want to do it, because they've obviously got costs to cover. A lot of them are paying their second shooters or third shooters, and so they have to cover their costs.
Yeah.
But the good thing with photographers is that it actually, if you owed them money, just won't deliver your
That's true.
photos.
That's true, yeah.
Whereas like compared to like, not that we personally do this in our packages because it's not the way that we work, but let's say someone like a planner whose work finishes on, or a caterer or a bar person whose work finishes on the day of your wedding, I can understand more so why you would need that payment then, because actually there's nothing to stop that client from not paying you.
Which brings me on to another point where the other day I was at a wedding with Sahani, one of our team members, destination lead, not in a destination, but we were speaking to the photographer, and he was telling us, right, and this is generally about reputations in the wedding industry, he was telling us about how he recently bumped into one of his clients' mums at the shops. And the mum came up to him and said, hey, my daughter's really disappointed and upset with you because you still haven't given us the photos. Mm-hmm. And he was like, why is she disappointed and upset? It's been 3 months and the agreement in our contract is that we'll deliver it within 6 months.
Yeah.
So he hasn't breached the terms of his contract. The issue is that the mum and potentially the daughter as well are upset, probably because they didn't read the fine print, or they didn't actually like confirm these things and just assumed that it would be available within a month, within 2 months, which some photographers do, some don't. It really just depends on their schedule, the way that they edit, whether they outsource things. So the scary thing is that your reputation can be made or broken behind your back for something that you didn't even do. Like he is doing exactly what he agreed to do. But because of miscommunication, misunderstanding, potentially ignorance, people could be like slandering him behind his back.
Yeah, no, that's really tough. I think my tip would be for this, have a really detailed call with your photo video team, not so far in advance because they're not going to remember, let's be honest, maybe like the couple weeks before your wedding. Then also make them a photo video timeline, and we have that in our packs. And the difference between that and an overall timeline is, in an overall timeline you'll have lots of different bits that actually isn't that relevant to photo video. What they want to know is, when are your group shots? How many group shots? Are you doing any reveals? When is it turnaround time, so that they can charge cameras, they can do same day edits, they can have a break? How many speeches have you got, so they know when to mic up? Are you doing a room reveal? And how long do they have for couple photos? Just kind of those key things. So if they have that on the day, they can refer to that and ask them in advance, like we just said, when are you leaving? And if things are running late, how much, what's the process? What are the additional charges, and when do they need to be paid by? I think all photographers should check in with the client before they go, or the planner, if you've got one there, just to kind of make that decision. But I actually have spoken to a bride, not one of our brides obviously, but she said that her photo video team missed her first dance completely.
Oh, yeah,
because she didn't have a planner coordinator, and they had just kind of gone in and went straight into it, and nobody thought to look around to be like, oh, where's photo video? The same way that when any of our team are at an event, we're always like, where's photo video? We can't start the barat without photo and video. We can't start the ceremony without photo and video. We can't let any of the guests in until they've done their empty shots. Like, we're always liaising with photo video. But actually, if someone's not there cueing them, they might be outside just eating something or having a cigarette break or on the phone. Like, they're not constantly by your side.
Yeah.
And that's also not their fault. Like, obviously they need to be checking in, but if they've popped to the toilet, that's not their fault either. So I think just pick a really good team and check your T's and C's.
Yeah.
But I'm sad that this person didn't get their shots. Okay. This person said, well, it's another photography one actually. When a well-known photographer, I don't know who they are, fails to turn up to your Mehndi party until you chase an hour in and then realise they're not coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because there's obviously not that much context here.
Yeah.
But that does sound like a nightmare.
Yeah. What would you do in that? Would you try and find a backup photographer? Or would you just sack it off?
We would be able to find a backup photographer because we have connections.
Yeah.
You as a bride.
Yeah.
Who on earth are you gonna like? Obviously, like luckily we're in a day and age where everyone's taking like photos, and probably like if you got 400 guests, one of them's probably like the content creator or a social media person. Like they can take decent footage and edit and stuff, but it's not the same degree of a level as an actual photographer and videographer. I mean, you just got to use camera phone. I'd probably just like make an announcement, be like, "Hey guys, photographer didn't turn up. Everyone at him on Instagram. Like, photographer didn't turn up. Can everyone just make sure they like send the photos to me, or I'll create a Google Drive link or whatever, and then can you dump them there? So then at least they have photos.
Yeah.
And I think people will then be more inclined to
want to help.
take and share.
Yeah.
Like I've been to so many destination weddings, both as a guest and as a planner, where immediately afterwards they're like, "Hey, follow this link, share all the photos that you blah blah blah." I'm like, I'm never doing that. Not because I don't want to, just can't be asked.
Yeah.
Just
also, you don't take any photos or videos.
Yeah, you don't want
Nimran's
like
camera roll literally hasn't got a picture of me in it from, I don't know, this year, I'd say. Maybe even last year. You don't take any photos or videos. You'd be the worst person to share anything on.
It's all up here, love.
No, it's not. Your memory's not very good. Okay, next one. Someone said the cake lady didn't turn up.
Yeah.
And so then one of the guests went out and got a supermarket cake.
I mean, I wouldn't have got a supermarket cake. What are you going to get? Like a Colin the Caterpillar?
I don't...
Like the thing is, these days, we're in a generation... generation? That makes it sound really like deeper than it is. We're in like a phase of marriages or weddings where not everyone has a cake.
Yeah.
Cakes are like a very, very traditional thing.
Yeah.
Loads of people don't have cakes. They have champagne towers. They have watermelon cakes. They have donut towers. They have like KFC towers. Like they have just random things, right? I would just, if you can, go to the bar, see if they had some coupe glasses, do a champagne tower. Or I would just like come and just pour a bottle of champagne, drink. Because if I'm being completely honest, if you think about most receptions that we do, why are you smiling? If you think about most receptions that we do, there's like 300 people in the room. No one can see what's going on. They can see, like some people are standing up taking photos. They can see something's happening on the stage. They could be cutting a cake, DJ saying 3, 2, 1, anything could be happening after he gets to 0, right? Like it could just be pouring the champagne. Like sometimes the DJ can't see what's happening because there's people standing around. Like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like unless you love cake so much, then great, go out and buy loads of different types of cakes. But just make do with whatever's in the room. I don't think that's like make or break.
True. Again, that just comes down to, as a bride, it's annoying. You've probably planned and designed and had this vision of a cake in your mind. At least if you're like me. If you're like, if you don't care, then fine. And it's just annoying because you obviously have planned it to be a certain way. And I just think it's rude when suppliers just either don't turn up or don't deliver. Like we experience that sometimes, and I can't get my head around it. I'm like, this is someone's biggest day of your life. How can you be so, I don't know, like what's the word? Thoughtless and like just selfish to like basically not care, not turn up and not deliver, and then expect the rest of the suppliers to have to try and pick up the mess that you've now made. But anyway, that should be a separate episode. Back to the cake. I'm smiling because I was thinking about how much I really wanted a cake for both of our wedding receptions and how you would just really could not be bothered for a cake and just didn't want to have one regardless. But I think, like you said, you can have cake alternatives. If you still wanted some sort of cake, like you said, there was that Krispy Kreme tower we did, and I'm pretty sure they just went to the local Krispy Kreme and then got a whole like 10 boxes from there and then built that.
No, you have to pre-order it. I mean, you can get the Krispy Kremes, but they need to give you the kit. Like they give you a Krispy Kreme tower kit, which is basically just like a clear stand
that you have to assemble. Yeah, I don't really know what I would do. I wouldn't have like your like a 10-inch Victoria sponge. It would just look a bit tragic. But I'm just trying to think what you could do to be creative, what you'd find in Tesco's. But
I mean, I think you wouldn't never do this because nothing about our wedding should have been a joke to you, including my speech. You didn't want it to be funny. But I would just get a joke cake. Like, where it's so obvious it's from Sainsbury's or wherever.
No. Think about the photos.
Yeah, but then don't get a cake. Like, realistically, you are not going to be able to go to a supermarket and get a cake that looks like a wedding cake. So you might as well go full the other way and just be like, something's effed up. Here's a Mr.
Then why would you
Kipling.
draw attention to it?
You're already drawing attention to it if it's a dead cake.
No, you know what you could do?
What?
Some wedding cakes are quite small. You could just get like the plain sponges and then layer them up so they're like a bigger
this
cake.
is clearly coming from somebody who's never baked and assembled cakes. You have to like put things inside those cakes, like stands and things to make it that those cakes would just like fall into each other.
Okay, fine.
Maybe 2 layers, that might just about work. Anything more than that, it's just the structural integrity would just completely.
You just got to hope you've got a friend that bakes. Luckily, between us, we've got friends that like baking, so I feel like
again, clearly somebody doesn't bake. At what point do you think she realised on the day that cake wasn't available? To then be like, I know, I'm going to go to the shops, buy all of the required ingredients.
No, not to
bake
physically.
A cake,
not to
cool
physically,
it down, and then ice the cake.
Not to physically bake, but just to add a bit of icing, to zhuzh it up, to like they could do something. I'm just thinking about the poor bride that maybe had it in her head that she wanted a cake. Okay, I've got her back. You obviously don't care and want to cut Colin the caterpillar. So anyway, good thinking from this guest, and I hope that it all looked okay on the day, and I hope the bride wasn't too upset, and I hope you got a good
3 Colin the caterpillars stacked on top of each other.
I hope they got a good refund from the bride person. Okay, this person said, I had my dolly bag stolen, like the one with the money, basically. So for those of you that don't know, your dolly bag is when you're going and then everyone gives you money. Basically like another more old school version of a card box, essentially. So someone's obviously stolen this.
That's the bag that you keep on your lap and then people go like that.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I went to a Sikh pre-wedding event and I wasn't informed that you needed to bring like a shit ton of cash. And like everyone's just going up and just putting cash into the thing. I'm like, got nothing. Anyway, it got stolen. That is bad. That is a horror story. You also probably don't even know how much you lost.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary, especially if you think that it's maybe one of your family or friends who's stolen it. Yeah, always. I mean, that's why less so with dolly bags, more with like card boxes. Yeah. We always make sure that there's somebody in terms of your family or friend who is assigned to look after the card box. Like we'll assemble it, we'll put it out there, we'll generally keep the key. But as soon as the event's finished and there's some sort of like turnaround time, we'll give it to some family and be like, "Hey, empty this, bring it back to me when it's empty." Like, we're happy to sort of keep an eye on it whilst the event's happening.
Yeah.
But as soon as the event's not happening, I can't be responsible. I'm not going to walk around. I'm not like walking around with this box like a baby, as if like someone's going to steal something from it. And similarly, that you need to like look after these things. It's something. It's a good point actually to be aware of.
Yeah, and also to always get a card box that's locked.
Yeah, but I mean, those card boxes, they're so like poorly constructed.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you can just open the bag.
Yeah, no, I know, but at least it's like a deterrent, right?
Yeah, true.
So I feel like people are less likely to just swipe it. But then we always try and keep the card box like near the head table or like in eyesight. Obviously, it's not our job to solely be staring at it, but at least it's kind of...
Yeah. That's why you should really never leave it outside of the main reception room.
Yeah.
You can if there's like a drink reception going on, but as soon as everyone's inside the room, just keep it inside the room with you, just because somebody then has eyes on it.
Yeah.
Like even if it's not the assigned person, like you can see if someone's breaking into a card box.
Yeah, exactly. Touch wood, we've never seen that happen in our 3 years so far. I think I'd be so stressed. Honestly. Okay, last one before we wrap this up, and then we're going to do a part 2 of this because there's so many. How exciting. Okay, this one said, no one went to call my cousin who was the bride, so everyone was waiting for 45 minutes in 35-degree heat. This is why you need a planner or coordinator, because people, like, once you've started the ceremony, the immediate family tend to be involved with it, like on the stage, etc. Everyone else, unless they've been prepped and unless they're used to working in weddings, they probably don't know who's calling the bride or probably assume someone else is getting them. So everyone's just sat there, and then the bride's blesser's probably waiting in the room for a phone call or someone to come and get her. And there isn't that person that is bringing everything together and literally going to prompt her, going to prompt the musicians, going to prompt the priest, and getting everything ready and in line.
Can you read that out to me again?
No.
No. I just read it out again. Just read it out.
No one went to call my cousin who was the bride, so everyone was waiting for 45 minutes in 35-degree heat.
So this is written from the perspective of somebody who doesn't sound like she's in the wedding party.
Yeah.
I think she's a guest at this wedding, and she's describing what she thinks happened. I do not think this actually happened. I think she is a cousin of the bride, and she was part of the guests who were sitting outside, and it was really hot, and it took ages for the bride to come.
Mm.
I would like to think that somebody is going to get the bride, and they're not all stupid enough to think that the bride is like, oh, I'm sure somebody will let me know, and then everyone inside is like, oh, it's not happening. I think something was happening in the background that was delaying the bride coming down, and as soon as people are sat in the heat in direct sunlight, time suddenly becomes like 1 minute is they've been outside for an hour. That is what has happened. I like almost guarantee that's what happened. Like, how dumb do you have to be the bride and just be sitting there like, oh, should have been down 45 minutes ago, but I'm sure someone will come and get me.
No, but I actually do think unless you're used to doing weddings, unless you understand the steps, like I don't who if you don't have a planner and coordinator, who actually goes and gets the bride?
Yeah, that didn't say there was a delay in getting the bride. That said no one went to go get the bride for 30 minutes?
45 minutes.
45 minutes. So the bride presumably has an idea of what time she's supposed to come down, right?
Yeah.
At 12 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
It's 12:45. You think she's just like, okay, like...
Yeah, maybe she's like, things are just running a bit late.
Okay, so...
someone's going to come and get me. But I'm just saying, in a wedding when we're not there, who actually goes and gets the
That's
bride?
what I'm saying. I think at the time, there were going to be delays because they haven't realised. And I think what's happened here is that there was a delay.
Yeah.
It was hot. It's like, crap, no one's gone to get the bride. I'd be very surprised that lasted 45 minutes. Of like 20 minutes of nothing. Still not here. Still not here. I'm sure she's coming anytime. Like someone, I don't know. Like
I don't know, Nimlan. We've really seen some slow people in our time, so sometimes that can just be the way. I think everyone probably just assumes either because what if they thought the bride wasn't ready yet, and the bride thought they were running late, and there was no communication.
So are we assuming this is what, a civil ceremony, a religious ceremony?
Most likely a religious.
Okay, so religious ceremony.
Not going to wait around.
So as we described earlier, sheet goes up, groom is there, and then now we're welcoming the bride, and then you're saying go. 45 minutes, everyone's just looking at the door. No, obviously that's not what happened.
Well,
someone's gone, she's faffing around, her dupattas come off, like her makeup she's not happy with, like the bridesmaids maybe aren't in order, so then they're like prepping them. Somebody hasn't spoken to the DJ about the song choices. I don't think that they've forgotten the bride needs to come down. Anyway, on that note, on that note,
we'll continue in this next episode for more of these. See you there, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
Please like, follow, subscribe for more.